What's up, Minecrafters? KC here, and welcome to episode 5 of my modWorld series. During the last episode, I worked on this day-night switch, and as you can see, it is nighttime now. If I would like to switch to daytime, I can simply click the gold block, and it's daytime. And if I want to switch to nighttime, I can click the obsidian block, and you can see it's beginning to turn nighttime. So that's going to be a useful enhancement to me as I work in this world. Today I'm going to be adding some new functionality to my magic wand. I named this episode CRUD, which stands for Create, Read, Update, and Delete. And that's a term that is used in programming, and most frequently it is used with respect to databases. In databases, you can create data, you can read data, you can update data, and you can delete data. But as I was thinking about it, I thought that also applies to building in Minecraft. So I'm going to begin by maybe first implementing an update function for my wand. And what the update function will do will allow me to click on a block and replace that block with another type of block that I specify. So I'm going to switch over to my code editor and begin making that enhancement. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a new variable, and I'm going to call this update block ID. And I'm going to default that to -1, but what that's going to represent is the value that I am replacing with. So for example, I happen to know that block ID 5 is wood planks, so if I tap on a dirt block and my update block ID is 5, I would replace that block with wood planks. So to enable that command, I'm going to use the chat window, and if I type in let's say the word update, then that is going to signal to my magic wand that I want to place it in update mode, which will allow me to tap a block and make a replacement. So if I type that in, then I'm going to create a new function to handle that, and I'm going to call that do update block. And I'm going to pass in the arguments. And the arguments are what I typed into the chat window, but just at the top of this function, you can see where I call a process args function, which takes all of the things that I type in and returns me an array of values that were separated by spaces. So that will make a little more sense when we get into the do update block function, which I will begin creating now. So my function will be called do update block, again accepting args as parameters. And I just noticed that I have 2 breaks here, so I'm going to take one of those out inside of my case statement. But inside this update block function, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check to see if I am entering or leaving my update command. So for example, let's say that I only type in the word update. What that will do will be to turn the update function off, for example, on my wand. So if args.length is equal to 1, then I've only typed in the word update, which again will be taking me out of update mode. And so what I will do here is I will set my variable that I defined, update block ID, to -1. So that would remove update mode from my magic wand. So the next condition I want to check for is that I have typed in 2 values. So let's say I type in update space 5, where 5 again represents the block ID for wood planks. What I would be specifying there is that I am entering update mode and the value that I want to replace blocks with is wood planks, with again the value of 5. So if args.length is 2, and I've typed in a numeric value as the second argument, so I'll call the parseInt function, and args sub 1, then I know that I have typed in update space and some numeric value. So if that's the case, I'm going to set the update block ID equal to, again, parseInt args sub 1. So that is assigning that value to update block ID. And then finally, if I don't pass those two conditions, then I've typed something in incorrectly into the chat window, an invalid update command. So here I will use my do-say function that I created, and I'm just simply going to say update what? And that will mean to me that I have done something incorrectly. So the final thing to do here will be to check for that in useItem. And again, useItem is called when you tap a block with an item that you're holding. So here I want to check to see if update block ID is not equal to -1. That would again imply that I am not, or that I am in update mode. And if that's the case, then what I want to do is I want to change the tile or the block that I have tapped with my update block ID. So I'll call level.setTile, which is a modPE function built into Block Launcher. And I will pass in the X, the Y, and the Z values. I will pass in the update block ID. And then finally, I will pass in a damage value of 0. And once I've done that, I will call prevent default. And then I'm going to simply return from this procedure here because if I am in block update mode, I really don't want to check these other conditions. For example, destroying a tree or setting night mode or setting day mode. So just a quick review here to see if I can spot any errors that I've made. I'm not seeing any. That all seems correct to me. But I will now switch over to Block Launcher and see if the script loads, and if so, I will go into Minecraft. So my script loaded successfully. I didn't have any errors. So what I want to do now is just test that. So if I go into my chat window and I type /update with, let's use a value of 5, which again is wood planks. That should place my wand in update mode. And so now any block that I tap should change to wood planks. And you can see that that is working properly. If I want to change those back to grass blocks, I would type /update 2, which again is the block ID for grass blocks, and then I can change those back very simply. So I think that's going to be a helpful addition to my world. The final thing to check here will be to make sure that I can turn update mode off. So if I just type /update and hit enter, then as I tap the ground, it's no longer doing that block replacement. So that all seems to be working properly. So we've handled one of the 4 conditions that I wanted to handle with my create, read, update, and delete. So next I think I will work on the delete function. So back in my code editor window, I'm going to start handling the delete function by checking for a command that's typed in delete. So if I type that in, then I want to create a function to handle that. So I'm going to call this do delete block, again passing in args. So for the delete block command, I will need the ability to turn that on and turn that off. So really all my do delete function will be doing do delete block, again accepting args. What that will do is we'll check to see if I am requesting to turn that function off or on. So again, I will check to see if args.length is equal to 2. So the syntax will be delete space on or delete space off. So I have to have 2 words typed into that. Otherwise, if I do not, then I will want to handle that and do another type of message that indicates that I haven't specified the command properly. So maybe what I'll do here is I will create a new variable to store whether or not my syntax is valid. And I am going to default that to, maybe I'll start with true. And I may decide later to come back and change that to false. But inside this case, where I've typed in 2 words into the chat window, delete and then something else, my first check will be to see if args sub 1 is equal to on. Then I will be inside delete mode, and I'm going to just go back to the top of my script here and add a variable to that so that I can track whether or not my wand is in delete mode. So I'm just going to call this do delete, and I'm going to default that to false. So by default, I'm not in delete mode. And then if I get into this condition here where I've typed in delete space on, then I'm going to set do delete equal to true, and then I'm going to check next for let's say the off condition. So if arg sub 1 equals off, then I will set do delete equal to false. And otherwise, if I pass in a value that's neither on or off, then I'm going to set valid equal to false. So I'm going to take out this else here that I added in at the bottom, and if I get outside of this if statement and valid is equal to false, so shortcut for that would be not valid. So if not valid, then I am going to use my do say function again. So I will say delete what, and again that will let me know that I have typed in something incorrectly. So just quick review of the do delete block, making sure I've passed in 2 words. If the second word is on, then I'm setting do delete to true. If the second word is off, I'm setting do delete to false. If it's neither of those 2 words, my delete command is invalid, and if my delete command is invalid, then I will get this message here at the bottom. So now I will need to handle that in the useItem function. So I'm going to test for that just after my update block check that I added. So if delete, or sorry, if do delete is true, then I know I'm in delete mode, and what I will want to do is I will want to call level.setTile x, y, and z coordinates to a value of 0, which is an empty block, and then I will again want to call prevent default and return from the useItem function. So I'm either setting do delete to true or false here. And then I'm testing for that inside of the useItem. So this all appears correct to me. I'm going to save, and then I'm going to switch over to Block Launcher and again test to see if my script loads, and then go back into Minecraft. So my script loaded successfully. I did not have to make any changes. And again here I'm just going to test to make sure that my delete function works properly, so I will create a couple of blocks to test with. So the first thing I will do is I will type /delete on, and that should place my wand in delete mode. So if I just tap a block, it removes it. Now with the modPE and Block Launcher, I would also have the option to create a dropped item. So for example, if I destroy a block, a grass block, it would create a small grass block that I could pick up and add to my inventory. But that's really not what I'm interested in doing at this point. But just so you know, that is an option. So this seems to be working properly. But I will also test for delete off and make sure that I can not tap this block and have it be destroyed. So that seems to be working properly as well. So that handles, to this point, both the update and delete. And so the next thing that I will work on is the create function for my magic wand. So the first thing I'm going to do here, similar to what I did with the update block ID, is I'm going to add a variable called create block ID. And again, I'm going to default that to -1, which will imply that I'm not in create mode. And very similar to what I've done with the update and delete, I'm going to add a case statement here to check for that text being typed into the chat window. So if I type in /create, then I'm going to call a function called do create block, passing in args, and again do a break just after that. And again, I'm going to create a function here to handle that, do create block, accepting args as a parameter. And this function again is going to work very similar to the do update block function. And in fact, I could probably reuse quite a bit of that functionality or that logic that I've already written. So if args.length is 1, then that would imply that I am no longer in or I'm specifying that I don't want to be in create mode anymore. So I'm going to set my create block ID equal to -1, which again would mean I'm not in create mode. Else, if args.length is 2, and I passed in a numeric value, then I would want to specify or set the create block ID equal to, again, the parse int args sub 1. Otherwise, I have not specified a valid create command, so then I would call do say, and I will say create what, which again will imply to me that I've not specified something properly there. So just a quick review to make sure my logic seems correct. Args.length of 1 means that I am removing create mode. Args.length of 2 means I've passed in 2 values. The second value should be an integer, and then I'm going to assign that to my create block ID. And then finally I have the condition checking for maybe some invalid command or invalid text there. And then finally in useItem, I'm going to do a similar check here. If do create block ID is not equal to -1, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call level.setTile, and I'm going to pass in x and y plus 1, which will mean place this block above the block that I tapped, and then the same z coordinate. And then I'll pass in my create block ID with a damage value of 0, and then again call prevent default and return. So I'm going to switch back over to Block Launcher, make sure my script loads, and then test my delete function. So again, the script loaded just fine with no problems. And here I'm going to test my add function, so or my create function. So I'm going to type in /create, and I'll maybe use this time stairs. So that should set my create block ID. So now anywhere I tap, I should get stairs on top of that block. So that seems to be working properly. And again, I should be able to turn create mode off. So now if I tap, I do not get stairs there. So that seems to be working properly. I have the ability to turn create mode off and on. And then finally, the last thing that I want to do is to create a read block function. And there's a couple of values that I'm interested in knowing. I want to know the ID, the block ID of the block that I clicked, and I also want to know its location. And then finally, I want to also read its damage value. So I'm going to switch over to my code editor and begin implementing that enhancement. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new variable called doRead, and I'm going to default that to false. Then I will need to handle the text that was entered into the chat window. So I'm going to test for a case of read, and if that is true, then I'm going to create a new function called doReadBlock, passing in args. And now I'm going to create my doRead function. So read will be very similar to delete, where it is simply an off-on type of function. So I'm going to start by copying what I've typed and just pasting that into my doRead, because again this is very similar, and I will just need to change a little bit of code here to switch in and out of read mode. So this function should now place me into, or take me out of read mode, again checking that I've typed in read on or read off. And then finally, if one of those tests fails, then I will print the message read what. So that all seems to be correct to me. And then finally, I need to hook this up inside of my useItem function. So here, if doRead is true, then I'm going to want to fetch some values from the block that I've tapped and then print that on the screen. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to read that damage value that is associated with the block that I tapped. So I'm going to create a new variable here to store that. create a new variable called damage, and that's going to be assigned a value of level.getData, which is again a modPE function. And I'm going to pass in the coordinates of x, y, and z. And then finally, I'm going to use my doSay function, because this information will be going to the screen. And again, there's a few values that I want to print here. The first thing that I want to print is the ID of the block that I clicked. And so that again is being passed into the useItem function. Then the next value that I want to print is the x coordinate. Then the next value would be the y coordinate. And then the final value would be the damage value. So just a little tidying up here. I'm going to put a space before that x. And so what I'll get on this line is I will get the block ID, I will get its coordinates, and then finally I will get its damage value. And here again I will call prevent default and return from this function. So that, again, just glancing at it, seems to be correct. And so I'm going to save my script and then see if it loads properly, and then go back into Minecraft. So the script loaded properly, and I want to do a little bit of testing, again, to make sure that that's functioning properly. So I'm going to place a grass block, and then maybe a dirt block, and turn my wand on into read mode. So if I type in /read on, so here I do get an error. So my script loaded properly, but I do have an error in my script. So I will go investigate that and see if I can determine the cause of this, and then make the correction, and then do some more testing. So I see the error here. It should be simple enough to fix. I had not called the right function name. I declared my function as doRead, but what my process CMD that I created was expecting, or was calling doRead block. So I think that's the source of my issue. So I will switch back over and make sure that that works properly. So I have reloaded my script, and so again I will place my wand back into read mode, and now I will test again to see if I have corrected the issue, and I have. So you can see there on the screen that I tapped block ID 2 with an x value of 94. I did not include the z value, which I will want to do, and then I can see the damage of that block is 0. So the correction to add the z coordinate will be simple to correct, but I want to examine that damage value so you can see what that does. So if I place stairs maybe in a couple of different directions, like this for example, and then I click that block with my magic staff, you can see that this block, the stairs facing that direction, has a damage value of 1, but stairs facing a different direction has a different damage value. And so that's what the damage represents. And with the modPE functions, you can actually set the damage value of a block, which would mean if I wanted to, I could change my staff to rotate a block. I could put it in, let's say, rotate mode. And so if you tap on stairs, it would rotate those stairs into the desired position. So this all seems to be working well, with the exception of I do want to go back and add the z coordinate to my my message that appears on the screen. But otherwise, as long as I can now take my wand out of read mode which that seems to be working properly. As I tap those blocks, I'm not getting the message on the screen. That really completes the functions that I wanted to add. I can now create new blocks very simply. I can read the values from blocks and print those to the screen. I can change blocks when I'm in update mode. And then finally, I can delete blocks. So I think those are all going to be good enhancements to my wand. It will make building certainly much quicker, where I can change block values, delete them, and create them as well. So again, I think that's a great enhancement to my wand, and I will definitely be using those features as I work in this world. So thank you for watching. I've enjoyed this episode, and I hope you have as well.